It is time. SBR Betting Roundtable for Wednesday, May 16th. We got Ian, Cameron, Jeff Nadeau, Donnie Rightside. I am Drew Martin. We're going to be hitting on today's MLB card. Bet on fade pitchers as well. Bet on fade teams in any sport. We got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and best bets coming up to round it out. Let's start off with Donnie Rightside. Mr. NFL knows all about sports betting, legalized sports betting right around where he lives. Follow him on Twitter at RightsideVP, his work at DonnieRightside.com. Donnie, welcome in, man.
Hey, good to be back another week on the roundtable here. A little bit of a rainy season. It looks like some tropical rainforest action up here in the Northeast. So keep an eye on that when you're betting baseball today. And also, if you saw yesterday, some of these games got washed out and postponed over to today. But good day to be alive here. Legalized sports gambling, more access to gambling for the United States. That's never a bad thing, Drew.
It isn't. Legalized sports betting, I believe, is a good thing. And your partner in crime, Jeff Nadeau, follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, it's the first roundtable since legalized sports betting. What are your thoughts, man?
We're very excited here, Drew. Donnie and I will be down at the casino. We'll do plenty of stuff from the Borgata. Donnie obviously lives in that area. I live there in the summer, so I'm very excited. We're happy about this. We know that New Jersey's a great state that needs some help, and I think sports betting is going to give it to them. So, yeah, we're very excited about it. It would be nice to actually bet and be able to know you're going to get paid in a couple hours. It's very cool.
Yeah, man, good stuff. We got Donnie and Jeff coming right there near Atlantic City. I'm coming to you from Costa Rica. And Ian Cameron from north of the border. Follow him on Twitter, at Babano, his work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, what are your thoughts, man?
It's a great week. It's a great time, Drew, to see this going through. New Jersey winning the case, shooting down PASPA. That garbage is out of here now, where you can full steam ahead towards legalized sports betting nationwide, as the great Bob Dylan once said. And the times, they are a-changing. Yes, they are changing indeed, and we're looking forward to it, believe me.
Good stuff, man. And Ian, feel free to do a little tune whenever you want during this show, bud. But you are coming to us from Canada. So one thing is sports gambling legalized north of the border? And if so, what are your thoughts as far as this implementing state by state throughout the U.S.?
Well, that's the thing. With Canada, the parlay betting is the thing you can do. And they have Proline, they have lottery gaming corporations that control what you can bet. Like Proline is huge in Ontario. Parlay betting is allowed, but still single event sports wagering. It's still got to be done almost like it's got to be done, Drew, right now in the United States, where we're going to see it enacted now over the next months, years, state by state. Everyone's going to put their own taxation in, their own regulations in for this on a state by state basis. It's going to be like that in Canada too, when it gets that. It's got to be province on a provincial basis. We're still waiting for Ontario has considered putting in a bill for sports betting moving forward. There's been a lot of stalling on that because of a premier that is pretty much clueless when it comes to this topic right now. In Kathleen Wynne, has no idea what kind of boon sports betting in the province of Ontario would be for that area. So for this area, from that standpoint, there's still a lot of red tape that's got to be cut. But I think this decision in New Jersey does have ramifications up north here, Drew, because it's going to push these people maybe to go in harder and think about this a lot more seriously than maybe they have in the past.
And Donnie, what are your overall thoughts of this legalized sports betting? Obviously exciting, but anything else you want to throw out there to the watchers?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's, if you can offer, the Indian casinos that cropped up there did steal a little bit from Atlantic City and the surrounding areas. But if you notice, it's all about atmosphere. If you look at Las Vegas, it has a great atmosphere with sports gambling, the aura around it. You have a lot of casinos that you can go to that are going to be vying for your competition in time. It's the same thing with Atlantic City. I believe at the height of Atlantic City, 12 or 13 casinos. They have since downsized, throughout the late 90s through the 2000s because of the emerging markets around. Now we're seeing that reverse down there. The Ocean Revel Casino is going to open back up. The Hard Rock is set to open up at any time now. Casinos are now opening because it gives you that nice, you can go on the boardwalk with the 6 or 7 casinos. You can go into the Bay Area of Atlantic City with the 3 casinos out there. That's what the offer and stability is going to be. It's going to raise taxes there. It's going to raise revenue. It's going to have jobs there also. And if you're looking from a roundabout scenario, like even with offshore, you don't just lose your entire market out there. People have to change and adapt. The offshore market will do as well. And again, you're looking at going into into Atlantic City, going into Las Vegas, Oregon, or whoever's going to be approving these bills, they're not going to match your dollars either. There's always going to be an offshore market out there, because I can't go to the Borgata, I'm pretty sure at Will Hill, and deposit $1,000. And I'm saying, all right, first time deposit, we're going to make it 100% on top of it and give me $2,000. The offshore market will always have a niche that's not going anywhere. The same way the local bookie is always going to have a niche, because you can bet on credit. More access, more gambling, bringing it to the forefront is going to bring more bettors in there. It's a win for everybody, honestly.
And Donnie, you bring up the taxation. Do you know if New Jersey is going to be able to stay with the minus 110 model, or are they going to kind of tax themselves out of that?
Well, yeah, I think the 110 model is always going to be there, because what's going to take place if you have multiple places to go, and let's just say on a Friday the Borgata is juice free, you flood in there and bet it, or on Saturday, hey, come watch college football minus 105. They're always going to be out there and doing that. But also, if you saw yesterday, I believe it was on Outside the Lines on ESPN, I believe it was Senator Pallone was on there talking about saying, look, we led the charge, and the state cost like $7 million to bring this case finally to the Supreme Court. The NFL is going to be like, they're going to come asking for an integrity fee. New Jersey's going to tell you to go pound sand. Like, as the one meme I put out there, like New Jersey's looking at the NFL like, look at me. We're the captain now, right now. Not you, NFL. We won. You lost.
You sent out that tweet, right? At Rightside VP.
Yeah.
We're the captain now. That was a good one, man. I love seeing that.
Yeah, whenever, I mean, who's like, if you would be smart, if the NFL would have came, months ago and say, look, all right, we're going to get on your side now. Let's work some things out. But how can you be an adversary and then you lose your court case and then knock on somebody's door saying, hey, how about cutting us in now? No, you lost and it cost us money. Now you're getting nothing.
Yeah, for sure. I love that view of it too. Hey, Jeff, let's get you in here, man. What are your thoughts? Atlantic City growing like Donnie said?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely going to. And listen, Donnie knows. I mean, there's still hope for it, because, like he said, they're opening up new casinos. The problem that Atlantic City's had I think for tourists and for everyone alike, two issues. One of which, other than the boardwalk in certain Bay areas, it's not a great town. It's run down. There's a lot of vacant properties. There's not a lot of residents still in the city. Most people, when you go to the Jersey Shore, you're going north or you're going south. You're going to Margate. You're going to Ocean City. You're going to Point Pleasant. You're going to different areas. You're not staying in Ocean City or Atlantic City. The only people that are there are retirees that don't leave their hotel, and maybe your occasional millennial. Now with what they're doing, they're getting all the boardwalk casinos open again. They're getting Ocean Revel open again up at the north end. They're getting a Hard Rock open again. Caesars will be there. Trop's there. All these different casinos are now on the boardwalk. The problem that we had, Drew, in Atlantic City is all the good casinos were out at the Bay area, the other end of the island, where you couldn't go from the boardwalk. You had to take a taxi to get there. Now it's a little bit more, it's back to the way it was. There's many casinos up in the boardwalk. That'll develop more traffic. They'll be able to bring events to the town. They'll be able to have these little parties to watch, NFL and the tournament, and have UFC. They already had a UFC fight here. All that stuff is going to add to the allure of Atlantic City. It's still a beautiful town. There's still obviously, a lot to fix, but it's on its way up, and this is obviously a nice start to that.
And Jeff, have you heard about how they're going to tax it? How the state is going to implement that?
I have not. No. We've heard is when they're looking to start it, when it's going to kind of get in motion here. But no, I don't know. That's a great question. I'm sure we'll get that heard. I'm sure that's what they're kind of getting together right now. But no, I have not heard that.
And I mean, they're planning on getting going by Memorial Day. Is that right, Donnie? Or Jeff?
Well, that would be But like Atlantic City, I'd probably guess, I would say by July 4th, everything will be good to go.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, no, guys, I mean, good discussion there. I guess the taxation is going to be a big part of this, and how that affects the offshore market as well. I mean, if they tax too much and get away from the minus 110 model, I mean, that's going to be a boom towards the offshore market, bringing all these new eyeballs into the industry. But guys, I mean, I guess we can move on to the actual MLB card here. Do we want to? Yeah, we do. Throw out any bet on or fade teams in MLB, or Jeff, if you have one in soccer as well. Donnie, let's start off with you. Do you have a bet on team in MLB?
Yeah, take a look at some bet on action. Again, with bet on, it's not just saying like, hey, let's take the Houston Astros because they're a really good team. They're going to win more than they lose. You try to get some like a little bit of advantageous stuff. A couple weeks back, told everybody about the Los Angeles Dodgers and the struggles, and they're still heavily favored, same as last night, taking losses. Let's go with the winner here. I'm going to look at the San Francisco Giants. The reason I'm pointing it out is the NL West has been down. You're looking at the struggling Diamondbacks finally picking up a win yesterday. But let's look on the horizon. After a disastrous road trip, San Francisco comes home, won 3 straight. Not too far on the horizon for us. You get back Madison Bumgarner, and you're only 3.5 games out of the NL West. They're still priced appropriately, and you're getting some value on them. So I'm going to go for now. I do have a fade guy, but for winner right now that I'm going to take, why not look at the San Francisco Giants?
Yeah, and a lot of people thought it was San Francisco and LA in the beginning of the season, and with the Dodgers kind of out of the gate having a lot of issues, so that definitely helps the Giants. Ian, what about you? Do you have a bet on team in MLB?
Bet on team. Let's go Milwaukee Brewers. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this Brew Crew team as of late. Their starting pitching's been a lot better for the most part. They're getting good, consistent starts more often than not. The offense, I think, is going to get even better as it's gone along. We've talked about many times on this show how Kane and Yelich were big offseason acquisitions for the Milwaukee Brewers going into the season, going to help this team offensively. And their bullpen's fantastic. Knievel's back in there now. Hey, as well. So,
yeah, you're good to go, Ian. Go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
so to me, yeah, Milwaukee. Just to keep it short here, Milwaukee, a bet on team. I like the way they're playing right now in all phases.
Yeah, you bring up their bullpen, top 3 bullpen as far as whip goes. So I like that pick there. I'm with you on Milwaukee. Jeff, what about you? Do you have a bet on or fade team?
Yeah, I have one of each. Listen, I'm going to look towards the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, this team, they continue to hit. I mean, they continue to kind of win games. I mean, they lose Garrett Cole. They kind of don't have much of an ace anymore in their pitching staff. Their bullpen's not been great, but they're finding ways to win games. I mean, Donnie knows. I mean, this team scores runs. I mean, it seems like every night they're putting 5 or 6 up on a board. They've done a nice job all year with consistent offense. You look at their last, even week or so. I mean, every night it's 6, 7, 11, 9. They're just finding ways to score runs. They lose McCutchen as well. It's just been kind of a weird offseason, but they've been able to keep their head above water. You look at it in the standings, they're in first place. The Cubs obviously have struggled a little bit. They've been a little inconsistent. Ian mentioned the Brewers. Pirates are hanging tough right now, and it's been with not great pitching and no big name and just consistent offense. We'll see if they can keep it up. As far as the fade team, this is really just kind of backing on what Donnie has discussed. And, if you remember last year, Donnie and I were, at least for most of the season, I was very into this Dodger team. And who wasn't? They were covering run lines. They were doing everything possible to win games, to keep it consistent. But you continue to go back to the fact that this team is a half a game back of being in dead last in the NL West. You look at everything that has not worked this year. Bellinger's not played as well. Chris Taylor hasn't played as well. Kershaw's not pitching well. Just everything that was going right last year, the coming back in games, the great and lockdown bullpen, all that stuff has not been as good this year. And you look at what it's done to the Dodgers, it's so hard to replicate that same luck factor, that same success. The Yankees are having it this year. They're coming back in games. They're doing things like that. But Dodgers, it's a wonder of when you don't get lucky and you don't hit what you truly are. This is what they truly are. I don't know how they get it fixed either, because it's not just 1 or 2 issues. They have a myriad of big issues.
Yeah, Dodgers down 26 units on the year overall. Donnie, did you want to throw out a fade team?
Yeah, and this is I like to, sometimes you get what you see last or what you've seen over the past couple weeks. And that's the one team I looked at last night, which I took a loss on an over. I had 6 runs from the Pirates through 2 innings last night, trying to feast on an over 9. Thought I would have had it easily with a terrible bullpen for the White Sox, but it comes down to managing sometimes. I'm going to fade the Chicago White Sox because what you're seeing out of them doesn't make any sense for building for their future whatsoever. You have simple prognostication here. In May? You're still trying to hold on. You played 1-8 over your last 9 games. You're playing last night. You're down 6-0. It's the top of the 5th inning. Theoretically, you can still come back. Your starting pitcher's already out, so you're already working into your bullpen. You send a batter up there with first and third, nobody out, who is a pitcher, and albeit a relief pitcher. Hey, great. Maybe he can bunt him over. Well, then you find out after the first pitch that this is his first major league at bat. He feebly tries to bunt 3 times and strikes out at the plate. To make a long story short, the White Sox don't score in that inning. If you put in a player off of your bench and gets a base hit in that instance, it's 6-1 in the top of the 5th inning, 2 runners on and nobody out. With the top of your lineup, Yohan Moncada, Abreu's coming up. You might be able to do some damage and get back into this game, but you end up don't scoring any runs in that inning, and that's the sign of a team in complete disrepair, and also the worst team in baseball with only 10 wins at this point. If you're looking at them on the road, I might just fade them every single time I see them on the road at this point. The White Sox are an inept organization, a complete fade at this point for the way they're playing baseball.
All right, blindly fading the White Sox for Donnie and Ian. What about you for fade teams wrapping this up?
I can see why he did that. Rick Renteria can manage like that. He knows he's out of there pretty soon. Why have I got to manage? Why have I got to think? Why have I got to have a clue? I mean, that's basically probably what he's thinking right now. I can just sit here, pick my nose, let whatever happens. I'm going to be out of my ass pretty soon. So that's probably what ended up happening. Donnie's right. I mean, the White Sox are a disaster right now, complete dumpster fire. That's a good pick in terms of a bet against team. I'm going to pick on Toronto Blue Jays right now for my bet against team. See, I have no homer bones in my body. This team's a disaster right now in terms of their starting pitching. Can I get one starter on this Blue Jays rotation to pitch deep into a ball game for me right now? Nobody can. Stroman can't. Now he's on the DL. Sanchez has not been consistent. Jaime Garcia's not been good. I mean, go on down the list. It's been awful for this Toronto Blue Jays starting rotation. They're not eating innings. They're not pitching well. This bullpen's gassed, and now the offense has gone to sleep. This offense and this lineup has been scuffling as of late as well. Jays are in the midst of a brutal tailspin right now. Horrible loss last night, 9-2 to the New York Mets, non-competitive. And yet Blue Jays taking money today in the early start game against the New York Mets with Happ against Wheeler. Let's just say that ain't my money.
All right, we'll be talking about that Toronto-New York Mets game in just a second. Guys, let's talk about bet on and fade pitchers as well. Doesn't just have to be today or tomorrow's starts. Any pitcher you're looking to bet on or fade. Jeff, do you have a bet on or fade pitcher you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I have one for both. Bet on Miles Mikolas from the St. Louis Cardinals. This guy's been killing it under the radar. 5-0 in 7 games, a 2.51 ERA, a .96 whip. You look at the fact that he leads the major leagues in walks. 3 walks in 46 innings. And his last 5 starts, he hasn't allowed more than 2 runs in either start. He's killed it. He's not putting people on base. He's really just kind of flying by the seat of his pants. The advanced numbers might look that he's been a little lucky, but overall, I think you got to keep riding the coattails of Miles Mikolas. He's done a nice job, and he doesn't walk people. We all know walks can always come back to haunt you. He's not even putting on people on base, let alone score. As far as fade, I kind of look at the total opposite of what Miles Mikolas has been. Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, I think Ian has mentioned in the past, Lance Lynn is really having issues right now. Left-handers hitting 340 against this guy. Opponents in general hitting 312. And his control is all over the place. You have a guy in Mikolas who's not walking people. Lance Lynn has walked 25 batters in 34 innings. Just disastrous with an ERA over 7, a whip of 2. Just been ugly for Lance Lynn. And for Minnesota, that's not good news because obviously they're already without Irvin Santana. They're already without Michael Pineda. They kind of are looking, I think, at Lance Lynn to be that second starter behind Berrios. He's not been that. He's had major control issues. So fade Lance Lynn, bet on Miles Mikolas.
Yeah, Jeff going with the control issues there. That's good stuff, Jeff. I mean, actionable betting items for pitchers coming up this week for the watchers to bet on. Ian, what about you? Do you have a bet on or fade pitcher you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I mentioned Fernando Romero last week. I'd stick with him. He's been terrific. Unfortunately, I lost a play with him on the weekend. Not by his fault. He was excellent in that game against the LA Angels, but he's a bet on guy moving forward. Again, the prices I don't think have been able to catch up with how good he is yet. You can still get plus prices. You got a great plus 150 price with him in his last start. I'm going to give out someone else too because I don't know if he's going to stick in this rotation or not because I know it was an emergency type of situation for Milwaukee on the weekend. But if this Peralta kid that I saw pitch at Coors Field this past weekend for Milwaukee pitches again in the future, he's got bet on written all over him. You go into that lineup and that ballpark, and just strike out the 10 or 12 guys that he struck out in that game over the weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers against Colorado. You've got some good swing and miss stuff. If you're able to go into that environment and pitch that well, look out for him for the Milwaukee Brewers moving forward. If I see him show up in my betting rotation as a starting pitcher in the days and weeks to come for the Milwaukee Brewers, I'll be looking to bet on that kid. He's got nasty, wicked stuff for the Brew Crew.
All right, good stuff, Ian. And then Donnie, do you want to throw out a bet on our fade pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much value from my bet on pitcher, but I think if you've watched him throughout the season at Progressive, and it also comes into the lineup that he has behind him, is Luis Severino of the New York Yankees. I mean, my goodness, if your whip combined on the season is under 1, that means runners aren't getting on, and you're striking people out between 30 to 35% of the batters. That is amazing, and then you back it up with the 9 hitters that you have behind him. He's been sensational early on in the season. I picked on him twice for victories in the first 5 innings of games. He was sensational in there. I love a pitcher that if you can't even get on base, he's going to put you down. So if you double off him, triple off him, 1 out with the man on third, has the ability to put that guy away. He has been fantastic. We're looking at the fade on pitcher in a certain instance right now. The guy is just a name at this point on the road, and that's Tampa Bay's Chris Archer. If you look at some of the numbers, batters are hitting 300 off him as a whole, lefty and righty on the road, with a weighted on base average of 376 in his 5 starts this year, 19 earned runs, and I believe a total of 21 runs overall through his road starts. So Chris Archer, I know you see the name on the back of that jersey when it pops up there, and you're one like, my goodness, he's only minus 110 on the road. There's a good reason for that right now. Chris Archer's not a good pitcher.
Yeah, he's been struggling all year for sure. Hey, Jeff, I want to come back to you. You bring up your bet on pitcher Miles Fickle's three walks in 46 innings, but you also mentioned that his I guess advanced analytics might say he might have some regression coming forward. Does that mean like he's not strike? I haven't looked into him as much. He's not striking guys out as much.
No, not necessarily. I mean, he's been kind of a yeah. I mean, basically. I mean, I don't. Sometimes people they don't pitch they pitch to contact more or less. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't struck out people a ton. But I don't know. He is kind of a guy that has been in the minor leagues for a while. You kind of look at his start and you kind of think, well, can he really continue to do this? This is his first real success in the major league. So there's always a concern to me that he'll kind of get back to normal and just kind of be a regular guy. But I don't know. He's pitched well so far. He only has 35 strikeouts though in 46 innings, so it's not terrible.
No, it's not. And I've heard a lot of like advanced analytic opinions bringing up like BABIP, batting average of balls in play.
Right.
And I've wanted to ask the panel for a while, like, how much do you guys bring that in as far as bringing regression as the advanced analytics of, because I view it as some pitchers actually pitch towards soft contact. Do you guys bring that in?
Right. And well, real quick, like Matt Boyd was a guy that I've considered for a while that I feel like he's going to regress back to the mean. Like his ERA is low, but his actual xFIP, which is his true ERA, is obviously much higher. So that would say that he's probably going to regress. And Matthew Boyd has normally been a poor pitcher. He's just hitting a certain stretch where he's pitched well. I know Donnie, I think he mentions it a lot. I mean, I'm starting to look at it more and more just because, you look at ERA and kind of what my concern with ERA sometimes is, like, real quick, you look at like Zach Wheeler, who's gone today. I think we're going to talk about him in one of the games. Zach Wheeler's on the surface, his ERA is like 5. But then you look at his starts and you say to yourself, well, he had one start where he gave up 8 runs, and the rest of his starts have been very good. So on the surface, it might say ERA will say Zach Wheeler's a bad pitcher because people are just so fixed on ERA, when in essence he's not been that bad actually. I mean, he had one bad start. So I think you have to look to a little bit more, direct stats as opposed to just ERA sometimes, because it can be a little misleading.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, taking just one start out and kind of trying to throw that out and using the numbers outside of that one, it's kind of, a less volatile thing, because if he gets blown up, you're going to lose it anyway. Mm-hmm. Ian, do you have any opinion on kind of pitchers pitching to soft contact and kind of going against the strong analytics guys?
Yeah, I mean, look at the seasons that Marco Estrada put together a year or two ago for the Blue Jays. Very soft tossing guy, but had a wicked changeup, one of the best changeups in baseball, and he kept hitters off balance with it because he pitched to both sides of the plate, worked up in the zone, worked down in the zone, and was able to just move that pitch around and keep hitters honest. And you can survive and thrive pitching as a soft tosser. This is not a situation where you're a soft tosser. You're not capable of getting major league hitters out. If you know how to pitch, if you know how to keep hitters off balance and work to both sides of the plate, change speeds, change pitch types, work and understand the hitter's strengths and weaknesses, and tailor your pitches to those strengths and weaknesses, you can thrive as a soft tossing pitcher. And by the way, I want to get Peralta's name out there because I was blanking on it. Freddie Peralta is the pitcher's name that I'm looking at as a bet on guy. 13 strikeouts for him in that start against Colorado. I was about to say Willie Peralta, but that's a totally different guy who actually had pitched for the Brewers a couple years ago. And Willie Peralta stinks. You don't want to bet on that guy. You want to bet on this Peralta, Freddie Peralta. And good point, by the way, for Big Man about Zach Wheeler. That's the kind of edges you can get in sports betting. You know, when you do that extra little bit of work and you see, one huge, massive, horrible start for one guy is skewing his ERA and skewing his stats overall. If you can pinpoint a situation like that, you're going to get value in the betting markets because the odds makers are just going to see, that stale 5 point whatever ERA and not take that into account. And you can maybe capitalize on that.
Yeah, great point by Jeff and yourself, Ian. I mean, look at the game logs; it's very important. Donnie, any wrap up as far as BABIP goes and using it?
Yeah, two things on that. The whole regression thing, I don't really look at it as per say to a season. I look at a game-to-game regression. Like, let's just say a young pitcher threw 119 pitches and went 8 innings or threw a no-hitter at that point. Regression for me would be in the next game to see how he handled that extra workload you might want to fade in. But I don't believe in the whole notion, which gets back to the Cleveland Browns theory, is let's just say a pitcher has 6 straight starts where he goes 6 innings, gives up 1 earned run, but you don't think his xFIP is 9, and you're just going to bet against him in the 7th game after 6 dominant starts because you just don't think he's that good. I don't believe in that type of regression whatsoever. Now, the one interesting thing about batting average of balls in play is in today's Major League Baseball, it doesn't really make sense to me. I do look at it, but you also have to take some subtracting factors out there. Let's just say theoretically, Happ is on the mound today, right? And he's faced 20 batters so far this season. And he's struck out 10 of those batters, but 10 batters have hit home runs off him. His BABIP is actually 0. Why the hell is the stat batting average of balls in play does not account for home runs? Last I checked, a home run technically is a ball in play because it's a base hit. So if you're looking at BABIP there, you better look at his home run line and refactor that into his overall BABIP because that makes 0 sense. You see a guy getting lit up, but his balls in play is like 189 average, but he gave up 7 home runs. Why shouldn't that get raised up? I have no idea who forgot about averaging the home run in with balls in play.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I've thought about that as well.
It doesn't make any sense. There's no theory that you could tell me why that doesn't go into that metric. It's ludicrous. It's like saying we're going to have BABIP, but we'll just take out doubles.
Yeah, but technically, I mean, I guess you could maybe people make the case, well, it's not really in play because you can't really catch it.
It's a base hit, though.
I know.
That's a ball in play. It makes no sense at all. I don't know who missed on their maybe they coded it for like 3 years and just can't change the code because there's no system to go back into it. I have no idea.
The thing is, too, in my sports apps, I've always seen over the years when it's a hit, in-play double, in-play triple, in-play single. I've never seen an out-of-play double, an out-of-play triple. So there you go,
yeah, it's like the home runs not in play. And Jeff,
and
you
that's
brought
all
up
anybody tries to hit anymore is home. Like Major League Baseball is basically strikeout or home run now. You have to include that.
But technically, I get what you're saying, but it is not in play though. It's a home run. That's why it's not. I know
but the stat is completely false then because if you're rated like, oh boy, he's only got a .15 BABIP. Damn, even if they're making contact, you can't even get a base hit. False. He might have gave up 10 home runs.
Right.
One last thing I want to make a note about with the soft tossers. What a lot of managers do, and I love this theory, they'll put a soft tosser in their starting rotation and line him up in the rotation right after a hard thrower. And I think that's fantastic. You get that transition from a guy that throws 97, 98 miles per hour to suddenly facing a soft-tossing lefty or one that's going to throw high 80s in miles per hour and really throw a different change of pace at you from one start and one day to the next. That's a very effective starting rotation, how to organize it and how to make it a line strategy for a lot of managers. By the way, there's one soft tosser I want to bring up, Mike Leake, because he's been a capable pitcher, but he's a soft tosser that I noticed a big decline in his velocity going into last night, and sure enough, he gets crushed against Texas. So again, I'm harping on this point. I'm telling you, declining velocity candidates, if you spot this, it is gold. It's worth its weight in gold betting on baseball. These are pitchers you want to target big time.
And you're saying you noticed it with Mike Leake?
Yes, it
Okay.
was about 1.5 mile per hour down prior to that. Actually, was the start prior to last night. It dropped about a mile per hour and a half, his average velocity. And right away, I'm saying, uh-oh, got some concerns here.
Jeff, you brought up XFIP, and XFIP normalizes home runs as well. So it's kind of the same concept. Do you still think it's that important as far as not factoring in, the home run just to a pop-up, the same thing?
Well, I think Donnie made a good point. You obviously want to take a look at the home run rate as well. I mean, listen, if a pitcher doesn't give up home runs, you can viably find that places. Yeah, listen, I think he makes a good point. I guess I'm just kind of making the point of it's not technically in play, but because that's why it's a home run. It's left the field to play in the fair territory. I don't know. It's a weird notion, but yeah, I guess just look at home run rate, which all the fan sabermetric sites have those.
All right, fair enough, guys. Good discussion there. If you're liking the content, please give us the thumbs up, the like button. Also, if you could share on Facebook, retweet on Twitter, that would help us out. Guys, we got 2 games here. 1 day game starting in just a bit. 9-2-3, 9-2-4. The Toronto Blue Jays with J.A. Happ, the southpaw, laying -130 on the road against the New York Mets, Zach Wheeler. Looks like 7.5 the total. Ian, I'm guessing you're fading the Blue Jays today?
Yeah, it's Mets or pass for me. There's no question about that. I mean, I'm not a huge proponent of Zach Wheeler, but I think there's still a chance maybe to buy low on him right now. I mean, Big Man alluded to it. There's one horrible start for Zach Wheeler that's skewing pretty much the rest of his numbers. Jay Happ's not exactly been a shutdown starter for the Blue Jays. He got lit up in his last start against the Seattle Mariners. So the more this price keeps on creeping up on the Toronto side, the more I'm getting interested here on the New York Mets. And you can take as much as +120. At places like 5 Dimes right now on the New York Mets side. That's the way I'd have to go.
Okay, so Mets plus points. Donnie, do you agree with Ian?
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking a look at the Mets, the one thing, forget about looking at a side here, going side by side. I don't understand the total at all. 7.5 -125 to the under, which basically means that number is actually 7 from both of these pitchers. Did I miss something where everybody's going to be a shutdown batter? You're looking at right-handed batters on the road for Jay Happ. Ian is right. He got crushed in his last start. We'll see how he rebounds today, but weighted on base average, the right-handed batters 352. And it looks like the Mets are going to be able to throw 7 right-handed batters at him today. And then you look at Zach Wheeler's home stuff. He got crushed at home so far in the season as a whole. 461 to left-handed batters, 348 to right-handed batters. If you're just looking at batting average itself, as opposed to weighted on base average, 333, 324. And it's 7.5, basically 7 at this point. Got to tell you, I'm leaning on that over first 5 innings at 4 and also the full game because, as we say, if the line is 7, you need 3 from each team and you got yourself a push. That's not a lot of runs with these two pitchers.
Yeah, good point, Donnie. Handedness of the batting splits, very important there. Jeff, anything in conclusion on this day game?
Yeah, I mean, Jay Happ is another kind of has another issue. I mean, he's another guy with an ERA high that might not be necessarily high. He's had one big game. And you look at Happ, and Donnie, I know you've seen this. Jay Happ's strikeout rate is up a ton. This guy is striking a lot of batters out. I don't know where this has come from. I guess he's just throwing that fastball a lot more. His strikeout rate is much higher than normal. I mean, you look at it in 2000, I don't know, let's say 15. I mean, his strikeout rate was 7.52 per 9. 2017, 8.79. It's up to over 11 batters per 9. That's much higher than normal from Jay Happ. He's done a nice job with the swinging strike rate and that kind of stuff. Great year for him, other than maybe one start. It's a tough game though because Ian outlined some of the horrifying issues right now with Toronto. They're not hitting, which is always a concern. I don't ever depend that the Mets are going to hit either. So maybe I guess you're kind of shooting for maybe in a way both these pitchers will twirl a gem or something, but and maybe that's the reason for the low total. But it's a tough game for me. I guess I would lean small to the Mets just because I think Wheeler's a bit better than the numbers might say, and I trust that lineup a bit more. But these are two bad teams, two lineups that I'm not willing to look at.
Yeah, Jeff, I think you bring up a good point with J.A. Happ's strikeout rate going up, and we can see it here with the game opening minus 119 up to as high as minus 132 at Bovada right now, minus 130 at a lot of other shops. So I think the market's onto what you're saying is putting J.A. Happ as a bet on pitcher and backing him because of that strikeout rate. But I agree with, I think, all of you guys as far as Zach Wheeler at the plus price might be the way to look. We got one more here, the night game, 907, 908, Chicago Cubs, Atlanta Braves, Chatwood versus McCarthy. Looks like almost a pick'em price here, depending where you shop, 9.5 the total. Jeff, we'll come right back at you. You looking to bet this game?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously the Braves are playing well, and I think the one knock here is I don't want to back Brandon McCarthy, and Brandon McCarthy has been pretty poor for the most part. You look at his last 3 starts. I mean, last 2 starts really, he's been an absolute mess. I mean, 8 1/3 innings, he's given up 14 earned runs and 23 hits. His WHIP is up at 2.49, just disastrous lately for Brandon McCarthy. That's a Cubs lineup that when they get going, they can hurt you. They're actually hitting the ball right now, 7 runs a game over the last 7 games. I think this is the game where I would be definitely interested in backing the Cubs. I'd be interested in probably them a lot here. The only concern here is, and Donnie Rightside will bring this up, why is this line going backwards? It doesn't make any sense. Cubs open as a favorite. Why are the Braves now a favorite? If you look at the numbers, there's no way people want to back Brandon McCarthy here. I know the Braves are a bit of a hot team and everything, but the Cubs are still a very public side. Why is this line going backwards? That's my main problem here. On the surface, Cubs look great, but why is that line going the other way?
Donnie, have at it, man.
Yeah, 9 and also I'll talking that side. I always like looking at 53% of the tickets coming in and the line, going in different directions here. So it's always something to take note of as the day goes on. It's a 7:35 start, but also getting back to that Mets game, keep in mind in this one as well, it's going to be sloppy, and they might even be lucky to get this Mets game in today. It's supposed to be rain in the forecast all day long, even though it's an afternoon game. You might have one of those extended games where they might not even start the game till 3, 4, or 5 o'clock today. So just keep an eye on that one. But getting back to this Chicago Cubs Atlanta game, I would look more at the total being factored in this one. 9.5 seems like a lot, but not when you factor in these pitchers. Left-handed hitters versus Chatwood on the road. He gets raked by them. You're going to look at 5 of 8 true batters here for the Atlanta Braves might be coming up from that left-handed side to be able to bat him around. McCarthy, who has he gotten out anywhere at this point? Look at him at home. Weighted on base average for lefties, 378, 488 to right-handed batters. It might seem that everybody that comes up on the Chicago Cubs today can do damage. And if you want to look even just from an Atlanta perspective, it seems like no matter what lineup they put in, 1 through 8, it's like they're a plus batter at every single position. Last night game didn't get over the total. I think there might be a little bit of runs down there in Atlanta tonight.
Yeah, that Braves lineup is hot. Ian, you looking to bet the Braves tonight?
I'm overall, in general, I'm looking to bet on the Atlanta Braves. Tonight with Brandon McCarthy, no. He's the one guy I've got no interest in backing right now. He's definitely been struggling. I mean, McCarthy's had a real rough go of it. He's been hit hard in his first 2 starts here in May. 14 runs, 23 hits allowed in 8.1 innings of work. That's a problem for him. He's just been getting crushed right now. And the Cubs lineup, they're red hot. They're hitting right now. That's a great job they're doing. They've picked it up offensively. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for McCarthy. But on the flip side, I don't trust Tyler Chatwood either. Tyler Chatwood on the surface, 2 runs in his last start against the White Sox. He's been decent, but the big issue with him is the control and command problems. 32 walks in 37 innings this season for Tyler Chatwood. That is horrendous command. 5 walks in his last start, 5 walks in the start before that, 3 walks against Milwaukee. 5 walks against Cleveland, 7 walks against St. Louis in 1 start. He cannot keep base runners from getting free passes. And if he runs into one, or one of these Atlanta hitters runs into one tonight after all these walks, you're looking at a 3-run home run, something like that, and a big crooked number going on the board. I actually really, really like this game to go over the total, 9.5. That's the way I'm going here, Cubs and Braves.
All right, Ian, looking Braves Cubs over 9.5, like it. Give a little love to the chat box here. We got Dom Ritchie in here saying Wheeler had a good outing last time, 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits versus the Reds. No decision for him. Mets, Toronto. Toronto 0-10 lifetime in New York, 0-3 in city. So that might be some of the reason there as far as the betting movement in that one. So good stuff there, Dom. As far as the stats go, we appreciate it. Guys, we got NBA playoffs, a little NHL talk with Ian, and then best bets coming up. Ian, let's start off with you, man. Cavs, Celtics last night. What are your thoughts on NBA playoff betting so far?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to bring up Donnie mentioning the weather. Yeah, weather concerns in a lot of places. Citi Field, Baltimore, Washington tonight for the Yankee National game. That game could be threatened by rain, so just make sure you're aware of all the spots. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So make sure you're aware of all of those spots, no question. NBA playoffs, you know what? I'm looking at one team that's physically and mentally tough and one that's not in the Eastern Conference right now. Guess which one's tough? Yeah, that's the Boston Celtics. I mean, they play a great ball as a team. Brad Stevens, I mean, I know I've been singing his praises all playoffs long, but he's done just tremendous again. You talk about a complete coaching mismatch in the second half. Who had their team executing? Who had their team prepared to play well in the second half last night of that game? It wasn't Ty Lue. It was Brad Stevens, and Boston runs away with it in the second half. They're up 2-0. They got a real shot now to win this series. I think they had to win last night to give themselves a chance. They did. Golden State, Houston, I got nothing to say really there because I don't think Houston has much of a chance there. I think Golden State's going to advance in that one. NHL playoffs, since it's my first minute here. Winnipeg, Vegas, back and forth series. Just keep betting the team that lost the previous game. I think you're going to do well. It's going to be that kind of back and forth series, Winnipeg and Vegas throughout. Tampa gets on the board 2-1 to get within one game in their series against Washington. But the next game's going to tell the tale. Tampa won last night. They're going to have to win again in Game 4. They're going to have a real chance of coming back to win this Eastern Conference final.
And Jeff, do you have any opinions on the NBA playoffs?
I think they're decided. Golden State will beat Houston. I don't even care that it's only one game in. Houston's not beating Golden State. No one's beating Golden State. And until the rest of the NBA realizes that and goes out and fixes their teams, no one's beating the Warriors. It's not going to happen. Houston's going to try. They're going to. I heard their owner on ESPN the other day. We're obsessed with finding ways to beat Golden State Warriors. Yeah, it's worked out, I see. Worked out well in Game 1. Listen, if you lose tonight, series is definitely over because you're not going to Oracle and winning any games. Boston Celtics. Listen, Cleveland just not a good basketball team. Other than LeBron James, they're bad. I mean, let's be real. Without LeBron James, they're a lottery team. They're in there with the Kings and those teams. They're bad, very bad. They're gutless. They don't play any defense. Offensively, they stink as well. LeBron James has been an absolute warrior in this series. Like always, he's absolutely killing it. Unfortunately, no one else is. Last night was epic for him. Unfortunately, no one else was able to play. J.R. Smith should be ashamed of himself. J.R. Smith is the biggest punk in the NBA. I'll say it again. He's the biggest punk in the NBA. He tries way too hard. Tries hard to be a goon. He's not a goon. Marcus Smart, I wish he would have socked his ass last night. J.R. Smith's a punk. We all know it. He should be suspended for that move last night. That was pathetic. That was Bush League. It should be taken care of by the league. We'll see if they take care of it. And keep in mind, the Cavaliers are 6.5-point favorites in Game 3. We all know how bad they are as a favorite. Just remember that. That series is over. It's going to be Boston, Golden State. It should be fun from there. But the league better do something about J.R. Smith.
Donnie, anything in conclusion on NBA playoffs?
Yeah, a couple quick ones there. Whatever, formula or algorithm the bookmakers are using for the Boston Celtics, you might want to just throw it into the ocean at this point because every single line you put out on a side for them is completely wrong. Pick them. They're getting points. They're getting 9 from the Sixers. Now they're getting 6, 6.5, whatever it is from the Cleveland Cavaliers. It hasn't been working out. And the same thing, putting that Golden State Warriors game at like 1 or, the Rockets being favorites at this point, but not favorites in the series. Nothing is making sense in the NBA right now from what the lines makers are putting out. But getting back to my good point here that me and Jeff have been talking about over the past couple weeks here, if you are in the LeBron James sweepstakes right now, you are giving a standing ovation to those Boston Celtics because you drive that one final nail where LeBron goes home and goes, can't win here in Cleveland. No matter what is going to take place here, no matter what the payroll is, I got to get out of here. So those teams clamoring for LeBron James, you should be on the top step screaming with a megaphone, go Celtics, go.
All right. That's a good point, Donnie. And we got Ron in the live chat saying I agree with all that, big man. Those are some good points there, guys. Over.
By the way, LeBron James triple-double last night, and you still lose that game by double digits. Yeah, just in case you're wondering, that's a bad sign if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's real bad.
Yeah. Also, Justin Searcy. I'm not sure what he, he's saying the series is far from over. What series have you watched the last 2 nights, Justin? With the Cavs, they stink. They've scored 94 and 83 points in this series. They're completely out of it. What do you mean? You really think they're going to go and win 4 games or 5 games? Listen, I love LeBron. I'm never going to count the guy out. But other than him, the team's just not very good. We have to, again, they're not very good. And LeBron can't do it all. We saw that last night. This is just a better team. They want it more. They're obviously more involved defensively. It's over. Trust me. Cleveland's not winning this series. Not going to happen.
Ian, do you want to do 60 seconds? Ian Cameron, north of the border.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I just did that, but anyway, quickly about the NHL playoffs. Yeah, Winnipeg Vegas tonight. That's a great series. It's 1-1. It's 2 great teams. It's back and forth. Winnipeg won game 1. Vegas stepped up. Game 2 played a lot better. It's going to be one of those back and forth series. I think if you just not blindly bet, but for at least until you see something otherwise, you bet the team that lost the previous game in the next game. So for me, I'm looking at Winnipeg tonight at the plus price. I know it's not easy to beat Vegas in Vegas at T-Mobile. That place is going to be going bonkers, but it's got a real back and forth type of series to it, much like we saw with Winnipeg and Nashville in the second round. They got a 5.5 total too, and anytime I see a 5.5, that's value to the over. So, you don't get 5.5s all the time now in the totals now in these playoffs. So I'm looking at that over as well tonight in Vegas.
Hey,
right,
Drew.
Man, yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights still still in it. Still a good bet, I guess. But guys, 59% on the year. Best bets still doing strong. Last week we did have a down week, 1-3. But let's get it back, bounce back mode. Let's start off with you, Jeff. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. He is the big man on campus, one of the best minds in the sports betting business. What do you got for best bets for us, bud?
Well, real quick, Teddy B. LeBron's been here before. He was down 2-0 with the Heat. Yeah, but he had Bosh and Wade. Do you know who he has with this team? No one. He doesn't have anyone. It's not going to happen.
He's got Love and Smith, and you can't count on either of those guys game to game.
How many points did Smith have last night? I don't think he had any. In 27 minutes, by the way. Why was he in for 27 minutes? Shit coaching. Awful coaching. I'm going to go to soccer. We have a few games left. Drew Martin here in the season. We're almost wrapping it up as we ascend into the World Cup, which we're excited about here at SBR. I'm going to go with the Europa League final. Europa League, for all you people out there that might not know about soccer, it is the league below the Champions League. Whoever wins this will get an automatic bid into the Champions League next year. And the winner today will be Atletico Madrid, minus 102. Very nice line here. To me, like stealing, really. I know my soccer's been a little dusty lately, but I really like Atletico here. They're a team that is just much more experienced in this spot. They're kind of a team every year that's in these tournaments. They know how to navigate through. They're a very good defensive side, among the best defensive sides in world football. They have a great front line with Diego Costa and Griezmann, 2 world-class players. Marseille's kind of the minnow here. They're the new side. They've never been to a final like this, and they're not a good road side. They have to leave France. They have to go into another area that they're not as familiar with. Keep that in mind. So for me, I'm looking to fade the road side here. That hasn't been able to win on the road. They've only won 1 time on the road in this entire tournament. They're a team better suited at their home stadium. I just think with them, they're going to willow in the big pressure here. This is usually what happens in this kind of tournament. Last year, Manchester United faced a team similar. They were able to dispatch them. I just think Madrid's a better side. I think they will win here and capture the trophy. I'll go Atletico Madrid, minus 102. You can find that on any book under European Cup a lot of the time or Europa League.
All right, thanks for that, Jeff. Ian Cameron up next. We follow him on Twitter at Babano, his work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, what do you got for best bets, man?
Yeah, best bet. Let's go to the game we talked about, Cubs and Braves. I said I really, really like that. The over, I really, really like that over. I think McCarthy's just a mess right now. He's a train wreck. He's not been able to get outs. The Miami Marlins, of all teams, hit the guy a big time in his last start. He's on a downward spiral right now. Cubs are hitting. Atlanta's hitting. This is a very good Atlanta lineup right now. Albies has been fantastic. Ozzy Albies for this team. Freddie Freeman. Nick Markakis has had a tremendous season. This is a good Atlanta lineup. Chatwood's got walk issues. All he's got to do is put a few on base, one big bomb, and he gets a crooked number hung on him. Both bullpens have been hit or miss at times. They could get runs early, middle, and late tonight. Let's go Cubs Braves over 9.5. That'll be my best bet.
Over 9.5 Cubs Braves for Ian Cameron. Donnie Rightside up next. Follow him on Twitter at RightSideVP. His work at DonnieRightside.com. Donnie, come at it with best bets, man.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback right off of Ian, but I'm going to change it up a little bit here. I'm going to take the bullpens out of the equation, but still go down to Hotlanta tonight, 907, 908. I'm going to look first five, and it doesn't seem too appealing to look at a 5.5 run line. But if they're going to cover that 9.5 in, I'm pretty sure they're going to do a lot of damage in the first 5 innings. We'll go with 5 dimes right here, over 5.5, minus 105 at this point. Ian is right. If you're going to walk people against legitimate lineups, that's going to pay dividends if you're betting overs in this action. The same thing with McCarthy. I don't think he can get any outs anywhere. That's a hitter's ballpark down there. Just give us a little bit of good weather to get this game started and underway so we can finish it out. But if they're, I believe they get the 9.5, Ian, as well. And I think a lot of that damage is going to come. Who can easily say, 3-3 after 5 innings? You're well on your way. Let's go over first 5 innings down in the hot Atlanta tonight at 5 dimes, minus 105.
And the number is 4.5, you said, Donnie?
It's 5.5, minus 105.
5.5 minus 105. Locking Donnie in on that. So 2 correlated overs there in the Cubs-Atlanta game. I'll finish it off with Milwaukee, Arizona. Humidor in effect. 2 of the better bullpens in MLB. So I'll go under 8.5 in a getaway game there, day game in Arizona. So got myself on under 8.5, Milwaukee, Arizona. Donnie, Cubs, Atlanta, over first 5, 5.5. Ian, Cubs, Atlanta, over 9.5 full game. In BMOC, rounding us out, Europa League, Atletico Madrid, minus 102 for best bets. Guys, great stuff here. Thanks for all the likes, watchers. We'll be back next week, same time, same place for Ian Cameron. Big man on campus, Donnie Rightside. I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.